It's World Population Day, a day when the United Nations tries to bring attention to the importance of population issues. Plus, a national strike by government nurses in Kenya enters its 5th week. And Berber musicians in Morocco share the stage with global names at the annual TIMITAR festival. Hello and welcome to Network Africa. I am PC Adebayo. For over 2 decades now, the United Nations General Assembly has been observing World Population Day, a day set aside to enhance awareness of population issues, including their relations to the environment and development. The day was first marked on July the 11th, 1990 in more than 90 countries. Since then, a number of UNFPA country offices and other organizations and institutions commemorate World Population Day in partnership with governments and civil society. This year, the World Population Day coincides with the Family Planning Summit, the second meeting of the Family Planning 2020 initiative, which aims to expand access to voluntary family planning to 120 million additional women by 2020. Well, let's get more on this story from the former regional coordinator of the DFID in Southwest and Southeast Nigeria, Mr. Shino Fagbinro Byron. Welcome to the program. Well, we understand that we've lost him, but of course we'll continue the conversation with him in just a moment. But in the meantime, about 10 Malian soldiers have been declared missing following an ambush by suspected Islamist militants in the country's desert north. Army spokesman Colonel Darren Corn says an army convoy was attacked on the road between the towns of Gao and Benako in a region increasingly under threat from a resurgence of militant groups, some with links to Al-Qaeda. Militant groups took control of Mali's north in 2012, though French-led forces pushed them back a year later. But maintaining peace in the remote desert region has proved difficult, and jihadists continue to launch attacks on Malian soldiers and UN peacekeepers. In the meantime, African powers have launched a multinational military force to tackle Islamist militants in the Sahel this month, as violence spreads beyond the northern Mali to neighboring states. So the regional coordinator of the DFID in Southwest and Southeast Nigeria, Mr. Shino Fagbinro Byron, is now with us on telephone to talk to us about the World Population Day. It's good to have you on the program. So tell us, what's the importance of this day?
Yeah, well, just to make a quick correction, I'm the ex-regional coordinator for DFID. Well, today, the World Population Day is actually to draw attention to the responsible management of population growth. Essentially, you know, the world is, by the year 2030, the world will have reached 11 billion. And you want a specific day. I think the World Population Day was set about sometime in 1997, I think. And it's essentially to address issues that deal with population and the consequences of population management. So it's you have things like climate change, you have things like urban rural migration. With population increases, you have to manage health, and a whole raft of issues. So those are the issues that we want to draw attention from time to time. Development is about not only managing the diversity of a country, but managing its mass. We want a productive population. It is not just the size that matters. It's not just enough to boast that we have so millions of people, but we want a productive population and a population that is not left to the vicissitudes of life, starvation, displacement, and a whole lot of negative things, including poor health and stuff like that. So it's a responsible way of addressing the population issues from time to time.
Now, you've raised so many issues and, of course, so many that, this day aims to achieve. But how would you rate the level of awareness of the World Population Day, particularly here in Nigeria?
Well, you see, yeah, like most campaigns, a lot of concentration is in the urban centers, and the ownership of the message itself is not drilled down to where it matters most. I can appreciate that in several areas in the country today, nobody knows what is happening. Nobody knows, nobody's organizing anything that seems to be addressing the problem. For example, if we're going to have a World Population Day, you would expect that at local government level, things will be happening. At schools level, things will be happening. At town hall levels, things will be happening. In the family health care centers, messages would be shared. So it leaves out a vast. But right now, if you take the barometer, you will find out that it's only resonating in the large cities. It's only resonating where the elites are. And I'm afraid that that's a limitation in reach.
Now, this year's event, coincides with the Family Planning Summit. And, we've been talking about the level of awareness. But how easy is it for Nigerian women, especially in the rural areas, to assess family planning?
Well, it's not easy because of two reasons. Number one, the first thing is even the idea of family planning. In so many parts of this country, people don't even see it as worth some merit. Some people are encouraged to continue to have children irrespective of what plans you have for them. So the mindset itself defeats access to family planning, commodities. The second thing is that the reach of service delivery, the reach of public service delivery is just about 20% in this country. So you find in a state where public services actually reach in that state, it's not up to 20% of the state. Either because there are difficult places to reach, either because you don't have the capacity to penetrate. Also, there are so many roadblocks and so many things that obstruct the delivery of commodities and services to the very end user. So the woman in productive age in a very remote village, doesn't have access for several reasons. And it's a combination of reasons.
Well, so many challenges that you have pointed out there. But, of course, how do we change the mindset of the people, just like you mentioned? How do we change their mindset towards family planning?
Okay, let me mention something. There is a provision in our Constitution which has to do with revenue sharing. And so, one of the parameters to share revenue in this country has to do with population, which means there is an incentive for people to have more children without provision for them to take responsibility for them. If you make revenue sharing based on population, that in itself will fight against anything called population planning, and that is in the Constitution. Now, you see how we have sort of tied ourselves up into a bind. The second thing is this. We need to educate our men from the different perspectives they come from. Some come from a religious perspective, come from a social perspective. But the most important thing is that people have to understand that we have to live responsibly. We have to plan for what we have and have what we can plan for. So it's going to be a whole reorientation, for people. But first of all, the constitutional impediment to family planning. That is those things in our constitution that actually encourage, the multiple production of children without planning for them. We have to export those things from the constitution.
Former regional coordinator of the DFID in Southwest and Southeast Nigeria, Mr. Shino Fagbenro Byron, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us on Network Africa.